Okay, I think I had said a few times over a bunch of videos that at some point in time, and I finally remembered today, I would do a video. I often say if your meters are stuck and you don't know what you're doing, best thing is don't touch them, send them to somebody that knows what they're doing. I'm going to show you how to properly unstick these things. Now you can see this one does move. It bounces around. But this one here, yeah, it's pretty much stuck. They both stick, especially once you get up into the scale. This one sticks low, sticks high. I mean, you can key the microphone. It'll get stuck up here, and a S9 reads down here 1 or 2 sometimes, and it's up into the close to 30 dB other times. It when it slams up, it'll get stuck there. So yeah, meters are definitely stuck. Why do they do that? I really have no idea. Basically, what you have inside is a pivot point. So you've got 2 screws, and you'll see once I take this apart, they're basically a needle point on the end of the screw tips. There's one there, you can just barely see through the plastic, and there's another one right there. So on the tips they have basically they come to a needle point. The pivot for the needle movement is, if you hear a radio in the background, it's just a repeater identifying itself. In any case, the needle, what it has basically on either side of its pivot is a cup that receives that needle point. Now, I don't know if a little bit of oxidation happens inside that. I suspect because I see it over so many meters, doesn't matter who made the radios, it's probably just, they're cheap meters. Honestly, you look at them, there's nothing fancy about these things. They're not high dollar, precision meter movements out of test equipment. I get the feeling it's probably either just over the decades, the plastic housing warps slightly, or the horseshoe bracket that's down in there, it's a piece of metal, part of the magnetism system. Yeah. But that bracket that it's mounted to, this hoop under here, either it warps slightly and puts undue pressure on the pivot, but it's simple to fix. As long as nobody's screwed with it and stripped the screw heads. If they strip the screw heads, yeah, you're really screwed. If not, what you see on the bench is the only thing you need. Actually, you don't even need 2 screwdrivers, you just need 1. I just want to prove you don't have to have, $10, $15, $20 WIA screwdrivers to do this. So I just grabbed some cheapies. Now, these aren't the ultra cheap ones. So stay away from the absolute junk screwdrivers. Get something with at least half a brand name. So, here's that's a Radio Shack. And then this one here is, what is this? This is a Cobalt. So that came from, Lowe's. So all you need to do, these things are just taped together. So here's a piece of cellophane tape there, a piece that wraps around there. Okay, so just take your razor knife. Actually, let me reposition the camera so you can see a little bit better here. Down a little bit more. There we go. Gets it out of my way too. So I just get in the crack there. I'm just going to slit the tape. And different meters will have tape frequently in different spots. And while you're in here, because it's a common problem with many meter movements, is you'll see your, now these are fine, but occasionally you'll see your paint starting to flake off the needle. Well, now's the time to take care of that, because you're never going to get any closer to that needle than you are at this moment right now. And all you need to do if you want to repaint it, first thing you need to do is get that old flake, because it'll usually be flaking off, and it'll be little pieces of it stuck to your meter face. Just take your screwdriver, lightly scratch it off, then take a light fluffy brush, just a paintbrush or artist brush, just dust that paint particles out of there so they're not stuck in here bouncing around getting stuck to your meter movement. And then take whatever color paint you want to use. Original's white, repaint it white. A lot of them are orange, so you just take a little bit of Tester's model paint and repaint your needle movement. But like I say, what we're doing here is freeing up a stuck meter. So we'll just pry that little piece of tape back. So what we want to do is access these 2 screws. Now, the problem is, and this is where everybody always screws up, you see that goop right there? There's glue on there. The problem is, people stick their screwdriver in there, they try to give her a twist, and they strip those screw heads out. You need to soften that glue up. Now what I use is GC Radio TV cement solvent. Basically, it's just acetone fingernail polish remover. because if you smell this stuff, and yeah, you definitely don't want to be using this stuff in an enclosed environment. You definitely want to have some ventilation when you're using this stuff. But you can see, main ingredient, acetone. So that's basically all you really need. So if you've got some, go to your grocery store, the cosmetics department, you can get a small bottle of acetone. Now what I use to get it out of this big glass bottle is just a little straw. Came off a spray can. I just kind of stick it in here, put my finger over the end then, creates a hold on it. You can see there's a little bit in there. And now what I'll do is just touch that on there. Get a little bit of that on there. Doesn't take much. Don't want to flood the damn thing. Little dot down in there. Now it evaporates kind of quick. And you don't have to wait very long. Just kind of keep it damp for a second, because it works fast. It really does. And it's not down in the threads. That's the big advantage of this is they, apparently when they assemble these meters, when they were assembled at the factory, they basically adjusted them, and then after the fact, they'd pour this glue on top to seal the screw so it couldn't back out. But basically what you want to do is, now that I can't half see. Now the camera is kind of in my way. Okay, so you can see the needle move there, it backed down. That was me unscrewing it. So what I like to do is turn it to where you can see it starting to go up. You'll see it go down, so it's down too far, it's stuck. Keep unscrewing. Okay, so basically all you're doing is backing it off. Nice and free now, look at that. Now sometimes you'll need to do both of them. You can actually get all of your adjustment out of one of them. I always soften the glue up because I already got the my little straw in my fingers already. If they're really bad, I don't like going more than say a half turn or quarter to a half a turn on one of these things. Honestly, if I get more than like maybe a quarter turn or something like that, I'll try and take the rest of the adjustment on the opposite screw head. Idea there being is I'm trying to keep the adjustment even, between the two sides. So there, you can see that one's now bouncing around, nice and free, and my opinion, 90+% of your meter movements, that's your problem. It's just that they're stuck. They're not burned up. So we'll do another one here. It's out of the same radio. Say Cobra 2000 GTL. Now, you can still get meters for a lot of these radios, but they can get to be a little bit expensive. It looks like actually, looking at this tape, this is packing tape, so somebody's been in this meter. Not a good sign. Yes, and I can see the screw head has been tinkered with, both front and back, but it's not stripped. I think they tried. Now let's see how stuck this one actually is. Actually, it's not bad. Like I say, this one would stick occasionally, so I am going to loosen this one up just a little bit. Especially if you take that bracket out. So I'm only going to do this one side because I know it's moving. It just occasionally likes to stick. So I'm only going to worry about, I don't need to worry about doing a whole lot of adjustment on it. Just needs a little bit, just a, like I say, maybe between an eighth and a quarter turn, just to give it a little bit more free play. Let the glue do its stuff. Or to let the glue, let the solvent, that is, do its job. Just come in here. There, you see how the needle kind of moved back when I unscrewed it. Like I say, what I'll usually do is tighten it up. I can see it's sticking. I know it's sticking there. And I can back off enough to where I see the needle bounce back. I want to make sure there's absolute, that's what I want to see. I want to see that boing, 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 boing at the end. If I don't see it getting really bouncy at the end, when it bounces back, I know there's still some binding. So you can see it's got really nice rebound. If it just goes boink, comes back and stays, or only makes down and up and it doesn't bounce a couple times, yeah, you need to loosen it up just a little bit more. So that right there looks really good. And it's just that simple. You've seen how to unstick your meters. Now the only other thing you really need is a roll of tape. Nothing special, just a little bit of Scotch tape. I always grab a brush. Get down here and grab it. To make sure there's no dust bunnies stuck in there. Last thing you want to do is get your meter all back together and find you got a bunch of dust bunnies stuck in there. And the nice thing is, by doing this, that glue's actually still there. It's dried now already. That glue's already re-dried, so it's resealed the screw in place. So, because the glue, we didn't take it off, we just softened it up long enough to get the meter adjusted. And now I can just put a piece of tape on here, wrap it around the back. Another piece here on the bottom. And that's really all you need to do. The meter is now back together. I'll just take that little piece and stick it on there since I already got it cut off. And it's just that simple. There's a meter ready to go back into radio, ready to work for another 30 plus years. So, if you have stuck meters, the main thing to remember is good screwdrivers, even good screwdrivers, if they have a strip tip, don't use it. Those little screws are a bitch to get out, okay? Even when you dissolve the glue, they can still be a bear if they've got, you know, any oxidation on it from the backside or whatnot, if there's, you know, they were exposed to any moisture in their life. So you want a tip. It's still nice, it's not twisted up. See, that's still a good tip. Like I say, these aren't high dollar. You could go to your Lowe's, you know, Cobalt. I'm pretty sure, I think that's yeah, because Home Depot's Husky or something like that. I think Lowe's sells the Cobalts, like I say. Just one of those, or even these little cheapy Radio Shacks. But like I say, these aren't the really, really cheap ones. You know, use at least a halfway decent one. You know, like I say, you don't need to, you know, $15, $20+ WIA screwdrivers, you know, something made in Germany. Little screwdrivers like that work well. So there you go. There's just a quick tip on how to safely unstick your meter movements. And the main thing to remember here is using solvent. If you can't find this, which they do still make this, but if you can't find this, use acetone, because that's the main ingredient. And you can have freed up meter movements too.